To understand why a cryptocurrency would need its own exchange, we first need to understand the underlying nature of transactions and how the market disadvantages projects acting in the best interest of its users. The principle of peer-to-peer cash is to simulate physical currency in the digital age, paper notes and coins. The idea of being able to send and receive money freely without a middleman taking a cut of every single transaction is how money should be. For instance, I want to buy an item for £1 and the person selling the item gets £1. It's simple. Most consumers don't appreciate merchants incur additional charges for each and every transaction between 1% and 10%, meaning from a £1 transaction they get 90p and 10p goes to an arbitrary entity. From the consumer's perspective, this may seem irrelevant, not their problem, until they realise that this fee has actually been passed on to them. In the time of cash before credit and debit cards and fintech, both the merchant and the consumer could benefit and avoid a multitude of fees. On the other hand, the main reason credit and debit cards became so popular in the first place was because of fraud and theft. In this instance, the merchant was more than happy to pay the additional fees for that added protection. However, over time this has become the standard with no way of escaping this exorbitant fee structure of the middlemen. The sad fact is, being a rent seeker is now so profitable and accepted that we find it in every form of commerce, from food delivery to paying for parking. Every service now has a secondary middleman collecting fees, all of which will inevitably be passed on to the consumer. Let's take car parking as our example and look at how the process for completing the transaction from start to finish works. So here's the example. Parking for 1 hour costs £2.10. The Ringo app charges 20p for their service. The credit card provider charges approximately 10% or 20p plus a minimal service charge of 20p for their service. The car park owner's actual charge for parking is £1.50. For any given service, you're now paying a minimum of 3 different entities to complete a transaction, and this is all before VAT and other taxes. When you consider this as the normal practice, the likelihood is this will only get worse over time. What does this example look like when we're using a peer-to-peer system? So the example, parking for 1 hour is now equal to £1.50. DCR variable price is approximately 0.065 DCR. The minor fee for processing transaction is approximately 0.0002 DCR, currently about 5p. The car park owner's actual charge for parking is £1.50, so the consumer pays £1.55, quite a drastic change. It's also important to note this transaction is done on-chain. It becomes even more affordable and efficient if processed on a layer 2 solution. Let's look at the perceived limitations of peer-to-peer cash on both sides of the transaction. The first problem, peer-to-peer cash presumes that both parties own and use the same currency. As long as the consumer and the merchant have a wallet, they can exchange goods or services for cash with no middleman. But what happens if both parties prefer different currencies? This is where exchanges come into play. Currently, centralized exchanges act as yet another middleman. A peer-to-peer alternative would be a non-custodial peer-to-peer feeless DEX that aims to remove the middleman whilst allowing people to transact with the currencies they prefer. Another issue, at this time the majority of people don't have peer-to-peer cash or cryptocurrencies, so they find themselves in a position where they have to buy some to transact. For most people, this is an arbitrary event, as we don't usually buy cash. More often than not, we'll either work for it, be given it, borrow it, or have it in reserve. In order for peer-to-peer cash to be taken seriously, the ecosystem needs to evolve to facilitate all 4 of these methods. To a certain degree, this has started to happen, but once again, in some cases the rent seeker has returned to act as a trusted middleman. To avoid this situation, we have to maintain the ethos of developing non-custodial solutions, where the customer and merchant never hands over control of their money to use a service. Another contentious point in peer-to-peer currencies is the mining fees. The fee is applied to the consumer side of the transaction. This can be quite disconcerting for the buyer. As in our previous example, it's normally applied to the merchant's side of the transaction. Consumers don't understand this, so they see it as less efficient than the existing systems. Another issue here is the fee isn't fixed. This can also cause anxiety, especially during times of network congestion, where fees can be more expensive than the item being purchased. It's for these two reasons that consumers and merchants are likely to use multiple currencies and will likely want to exchange in and out of them at beneficial times. My last point about the perceived limitations of peer-to-peer cash is the price is not the price. The value of cryptocurrencies changes so frequently that it can be difficult for consumers and merchants to comprehend how much they're paying. Although I can see a time when people are happy to buy and sell using cryptocurrencies, I think it will take a lot longer to get to a point where they don't need to see the items priced in their local currencies. All of which brings me back to my initial point of why does a cryptocurrency need its own exchange? In Decred's case, peer-to-peer cash was just the starting point. This idea must evolve to be better than what came before. Custodial rent-seeking services must be removed from every part of the system. A cryptocurrency must be able to seamlessly integrate and operate throughout the full ecosystem. The result should be a fluent experience for the user, to the point that transacting with peer-to-peer cash will be a better, more versatile experience for all participants. A benefit and drawback in Decred's short history is exchanges don't want to list Decred DCR. This has been a thorn in Decred's side, but it's also given rise to a thought process that believes it's imperative for Decred to make its own markets and exchange to survive. By having its own exchange, Decred has direct access to all markets and fiat on and off ramps. With just one simple pair, DCR to BTC, Decred can move seamlessly between cryptocurrencies, exchanges and fiat currencies in all regions of the world without needing anyone's permission. As time moves on, pairs and liquidity will also grow to provide even greater opportunities. As a prime example, after only 2 years of being active, Decred's exchange already has the second most popular DCR to BTC pair in the space. Decred no longer has to worry about being listed on exchanges or being delisted from exchanges. Instead, it can focus on building better non-custodial technologies that continue to remove rent-seeking middlemen. It's for this reason atomic swaps is used in Decred's exchange. Through this technology, which was also built by Decred's development team, Company Zero, coin holders never hand over the coins to a third party. DCRDEX is an evolution of peer-to-peer cash that facilitates peer-to-peer exchange. Being an interoperable currency is the next evolution of peer-to-peer cash. DCRDEX is Decred's bridge to the wider space, giving its users the financial instruments needed to exchange freely. Decred's decentralized exchange DCRDEX has many unique features that make it stand apart from all others in the space, including no fees for trading or exchanging between coins. All trades are completed peer-to-peer. No high-frequency trading, which in turn reduces order book manipulation. No KYC, all trades are permissionless. The exchange doesn't hold your coins at any point in the exchange process. And finally, the exchange was built and self-funded using Decred's treasury, all of which was approved by Decred stakeholders. In the next DCR data video, we'll look at using the exchange and the fundamental differences between this technology and centralized exchange technology. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video and you want to show your support, don't forget to give it a like, comment, and most importantly, subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you next time.